Will Sloan come for training yesterday?
Sloan went well this morning again, so off the back of specialists giving him the all clear, yeah, he'll play. So this morning was just that last tick off to make sure he felt right to go.
No doubt in your mind that there's no sort of danger to him going forward?
I'm not the eye expert, but we've consulted with the experts and he's been given the all clear. So from a footy point of view, he's had now just over a month out. It'll be a challenge for him coming back in, but we know what sort of player he is. He'll put his head over it, and it's a hard one to keep him out of, to be honest.
What about Brown and Hammer? Where are they at?
Yeah, so they'll both play as well. So we'll have the 3 changes going in.
So there's one out.
Well, I won't give you the 4th one, but yeah, we're sitting there. Brown and Hamill, they're 2 really good ins for us from an experience point of view. Brown is really important to us down back. Will's very much part of the future, and yeah, when we look at our opposition, we've got huge respect for. They've got some speed ahead of the ball, and Will brings that. So he was a really important one for us. We're glad he's fit and ready to go.
While we're talking individuals, Tom Lynch, you said a couple of weeks ago that he was injured. Is that certain? So what's changed in that time frame?
Yeah, as to give you some clarity around Tom and how the season's played out. Tom's pushed through and played, probably not at 100%. We know that. We talked about, you know, he was requiring assistance for a number of weeks there to get himself right. That's not unusual in our game for players to need some support to get themselves up and about. Super important player for us from a leadership point of view and experience, and was very important, you know, throughout that first month of footy where, you know, a young group were playing, you know, right at the level. As weeks went by, Tom began to struggle a little more with the body and performance. You know, he's an ultimate professional. He wants to perform well for his team as well as for himself, and he got to that point where the toe just wasn't seeing enough improvement. You know, we were hoping that we would see some improvement in it. Unfortunately, it didn't come through, and then he's made the decision now with our doctors and medicos on the best course going forward for him is to actually get that operation done, give him an opportunity to perform towards the end of the year and bring something back to the team again.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing, but can you admit now that you got it wrong in Launceston by playing him in that medical side, right?
No. If you look at the month and the way it played out prior, we've been playing Tom for 4 or 5 weeks prior to that in a very similar situation. We were looking to manage Tom throughout those last couple of games, just from a loads point of view, and we're doing that in game that goes unnoticed. You know, we've got players now with 75 rotations that play 60% game time. So there's a lot of things we'd like to look back over and maybe change the way we went about it. But from Tom and our point of view, you know, we wanted to push through. We really wanted him. He's an important part of what we were trying to do as a footy club, and he still is now. We're hoping this operation gets him back on track.
Is it just bad medical advice, or was it just maybe you thought it would go one way and then physically it went another?
No, when you're talking about toes and joints, yeah, there's a little bit of uncertainty around that. We made some decisions, both the club and Tom, about how we approached that. We were looking for some improvement, didn't quite get the improvement we were after. We knew that was going to be a challenge going in. As I said, we've made the decision now, and we look forward to him coming back.
Yeah, we'll bring Trav in and we'll bring Kane Farrell in. We'll have Boyd Woodcock, Sam Mays and Marty Fredericks will go out. One of those boys will play sub, so that's where we'll be.
Obviously, the strength in the midfield is obviously a key area.
Yeah.
Ball, I've heard everybody talk about it this week.
Yeah, Rory Sloan's a good in for them, and Trav Boak's a real good in for us too. So I reckon both boys will make it pretty even with who's coming in.
What do you expect from Adelaide? You look at last week, or you look at their form line month before that?
Oh, they've been really consistent. I think from round one right through, when we've seen what they bring, we've seen their pressure, and when they're hunting, they get a pretty good result. And you know, they've played some pretty damaging football, to be fair, over the course of the first 7 rounds, and you know, they've been able to score heavily. You know, they're a real threat for us, and we know that, and we've got to make sure we're at our best.
Tough on Marty. A bit tough on Marty.
Yeah, the unfortunate part about, and Nicks, you'll now know that Marty's probably going to could end up our sub, but the reality is, you you've got to make extra changes when you deal with the team you're dealing with. And Marty's been in pretty good form. His first 2 games been pretty exciting, to be honest, and we think he's a pretty exciting part of the future. But yeah, he's a little unfortunate, but we've got a couple of players coming that we think are pretty important too.
What does that do to your half-back structure?
What do you think it'll do to our half-back structure?
I was going to say.
There's probably someone else that's going to play a bit more mid.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably a chance that Bergman or Houston might go back, and someone else will play a bit more mid. There's a Robbie Gray type player who's pretty good in the Showdown, so he might get a bit more midfield time. There's all those sort of things. We've got great flexibility in our front half with the players who can and can't go on ball, and on same down our back end now. We've got a bit more flexibility, which is good.
Where's Zach Brothers out of interest in terms of his recovery? It's been 3 to 4 weeks for about 3 or 4 weeks in terms of his timeline.
I think you're a bit unfair there. Zach's actually hadn't been finished surgery for 3 weeks. It's a 6 to 8 week injury. He's had syndesmosis operation. I'm not sure where you're wanting to take me with that one, but Zach's on recovery.
I'm just going on the club's medical. The club said 3 to 4 weeks on April 19th.
Yeah, well, he's had surgery, so he's not going to get back within any shorter time than 6 to 8 weeks, I'd imagine. But if he can get back early, we'd love him back early. He's a pretty important player. But we've got Lockie Jones, same. He had same operation. Right now, if you looked at 2 of them, they're a week apart on surgery. Lockie's probably a little bit in front of Zach, so they do behave differently.
Ken, you'll see a return to a full capacity crowd here tomorrow. The first time in what feels like an eternity. How exciting is that as a prospect, given the rivalry?
No, it's fantastic for a Showdown. We both understand the importance of Showdowns, and we understand the importance to the fans of the Showdown, and that's what it's about. It's about the community, and it's our home game, so we expect that there'll be a big number of Port Adelaide people here. We certainly know there'll be some Adelaide people here at the same time, so it's great just for footy. Look, having fans back, we've all enjoyed having fans back every game this year, and it's there's another positive step.
Showdowns have a funny way of sort of ignoring form in years gone by. Disappointing last week against Brisbane. What do you need to turn around to secure a win?
Yeah, I've got good history and good memories of what sides are and what they're not, whether they are, where they are and not on the ladder. We just know, both of us know, that the Showdown's won on the day, and it's not going to be won on where the ladder is or where the form is at the moment. We're both coming off a disappointing week last week, so I can expect both teams will be pretty fired up, and it's a Showdown. We just spoke about it in our rooms about what the Showdown means to us, and it's everything as far as our football season goes here in South Australia. We need to win Showdowns, and everyone needs to win Showdowns, but we put a high price on it.
And Nixie, what about you, mate? Port have been one of the form teams in the comp. You were just very disappointing last week at home here. What do you need to do to get a bit against the balance?
Yeah, we've got to bounce back as well. As Ken said, we've played some pretty solid footy throughout the first 7 weeks, and the weekend was a real drop off in what we've been bringing. So we know if we bring that again, we'll get touched up by a quality side. We know Port Adelaide are more than likely going to bounce back. They've shown across the last couple of years that they're a very, very good side if you allow them to play the way they want to play. They've got some real weapons, so we've done our homework. We know them really well. We know what we've got to bring to beat them. It really comes back to, can we do that? Can we bring it on the day? So that's our challenge.
See how far you've come since last year. 75 point smashing. How far has your group come since that moment?
I think you can look at the pre-season to see how far we've come. We were working on things, and the last time we played Port was in a pre-season game where a lot of things were just off the mark. So we know if we're just off the mark, we know what the result will be. We've come a long way since last year. We've got a group now that are connected. They're doing a lot of work on consistency. We'd like to think and pride ourselves that we'll bounce back after last week, where we were convincingly beaten around the contest, and I think both teams will be hungry for that contest this weekend. We've got 2 very important players coming back in, our captain, their former captain, who both love that fight, so we've improved out of sight.
Just on the contest stuff, I think now people talk about Ollie's probably the form of his life. He's certainly carried the midfield to a degree up. How does he keep going, and how do you stop what looks like an unstoppable player at the moment?
Yeah, Ollie's just in that sweet spot of a career, I reckon, and he's taken a little while to get where he'd like to be, but he just 100% knows what he brings to the team, and he's really comfortable to provide that with the team. Doesn't mean he's going to play break the game tomorrow night, I'd back him in to say he's going to play very well, because he's had a great consistent start to the season. And last week, as you said, he was one of the shining lights, along with Will and Drew, I thought, around the ball, that they actually gave us a chance, but we weren't able to capitalise either in front or behind the ball. Ollie's in good form. You know, you just know when a player's comfortable, and I think he understands his role. I think that's where Ollie is right now. That doesn't mean he's got 22, let's hope more than that, great games in him every week, but he'll be pretty close to being good, I reckon.
Do you want me to answer it?
Please.
We hope he has an off night, for starters. But no, we've had a good look, and we respect where the whole team is at, not just Ollie. Ollie's in some rare form. It's amazing what confidence can do too for a player, so that's going to be a big challenge for us, and we've hopefully some of the ins that we've got coming in with big bodies, you know we need to match that. He's not an easy matchup because he is a big, strong inside mid, but he's got the ability to get outside as well.
How much is slowed up with that though?
Well, I mean, Sloaney's an important leader in around that stoppage, and he'll go straight in there. We'll play him in around the footy, and sometimes leadership and an understanding of the game, especially in a showdown, it's going to be hot for 5-10 minutes at the start, and then it slowly evens itself out and becomes a game of footy. Sloaney will be very important that first 5 or 10 minutes.
Already beat Lions?
Yeah, it could be a possibility they get near each other at some point. Yep.
6 goals in the last 6 quarters. Is that a product of midfield delivery, or was it forward line out of sorts? How do you address the sort of scoring issues?
Yeah, and obviously we dive extremely deep into that and have a look at it as a club. It's more than just offence. It's a mix. It's right across the board. I mentioned contest before. Last week we were touched up by a very good side. You look at some of the players they've got going through there. If you let them get going, then you're in trouble. We did that. It's the same this week. So from a scoring point of view, I think you've got to be careful not just to look at what we're doing with the ball. We've done a fair bit of work during the week on what that looks like for Saturday night. I'm sure our guys will get it right.
Comparing football, how much do you look back at the pre-season games versus, say, the past few games of them?
I mean, we used the pre-season games. We were lucky to be able to play against Port Adelaide in the pre-season. They're an experienced side. They played enough footy together, and they're connected. And at that stage early in the year, a lot of teams take some time to get there. Well, that wasn't the case for them. So we learned a hell of a lot from those first 2 games, and we showed that when we came out round 1 v Geelong. We've kept that form going. We dropped away on the weekend. There's no doubt we learned a fair bit from last time we played them, and if things go to plan and that there are plans in place, hopefully we don't see the same result.
Just on the rivalry, Paul have been pretty public and open in saying what it means to their club this week. How do you address it internally? Do you sort of make a big deal of it, or do you try and keep the week as normal as possible?
Well, I think it is a big deal. I think rivalries are fantastic for the game, for any sport. You look across the world, there's some fantastic rivalries, all over the world, and in all different sports. This is one of the best. We don't like them much. We get along okay when it's not footy, but I think on Saturday night, he's not going to like me much, hopefully, if we get our game going. But we talk to a lot of past players, and we look back over the history of what showdowns are, and I think it's even at the moment. It's a great rivalry, so we embrace that. And I think that the best part about it, Ken mentioned it earlier, it's the supporters that we're so lucky this year to have hopefully a full stadium. We know how passionate the Port Adelaide supporters are, so it's just going to add to the theatre.
So you sense there's something, a different feel of this work within your playing work?
Oh yeah, there's a fair bit of passion there from both the experienced players, and then we've got some young players that South Australian born. They know exactly what Showdown is. I mean, Jimmy Rowe, we had to hold him back this morning in a captain's run. He's up and about, he's ready to go.
What about internally now, and Ken? I'll just follow up from that question. How's the feeling given it's a Showdown this week?
Yeah, it's ready. It's ready to go, and it's ready to be on. And we won't shy away from the fact that this is as big a game outside of finals for us as that we want to play and we want to win them. And it's a great rivalry because at 24 all, it's remarkable that you can be so close over such a long period of time. And we're looking for the opportunity to put our noses in front. We're going to go hard to get there.
You've both spoken about how past players and coaches and all that have come and spoken CD this morning saying the Crows are jealous of us around history. Can you just speak a little bit on how what the players say about the history and how important that is about keeping the rivalry alive? You know, a bunch of 18-year-old Victorians that might run out tomorrow type thing.
We educate them. We give them an understanding of what it is. We talk about Ramsgate. And it's on.
It does come up.
Oh no! I mean, there's stories. I mean, we all love the stories. We all love to hear about them. I wasn't any part to do it, but I love to hear the story about that. But I love the rivalry. I remember when I first got to Adelaide 8 and a bit years ago now, and one of the first things that I think Sando said to me at the time, he said, "Mate, rivalries are real and they're big. You know, you probably don't quite understand them. So our job is to make sure we educate all our players, and they all understand, whether they're Victorians, whether they're Western Australians. We've got Mitch Georgiadis, he's ready to play in a showdown, he can't wait. You know, he's heard enough about them, so they're as big as you get for us. In South Australian football, it's a great showpiece, and it's a real rivalry, and we love it.
So are you jealous, Nixie? Is that a fair statement when you said that the Crows are jealous of Port's history?
It's a big call.
No further comment?
No.
Is the rivalry almost evident in your two relationships? I mean, for a long time you were sitting in the same coach's box, and now Nixie's standing next to you, Kenny, and saying he doesn't like you that much. So how's that? Can you talk about how that's changed over the last 2 years?
Oh, that's the position you get put in, and we're fierce competitors. We would have been fierce competitors whether we played against each other, and when we worked together, we had to play together, we would have been the same people. But when they're the enemy, and that's what they are. They're the enemy.
How does the overwhelming favouritism tag sit here for the second year in a row?
Doesn't mean a thing. I mean, I think we might have been favourites last week. That helped us. Didn't help us a bit. Favouritism in showdowns doesn't matter. Ladder position doesn't matter. The team who wants it the most matters.